Well, I think you can see from the size of the crowd standing right behind me that although the crowd and the drama is over on the field, there's a lot more right here as the Green Bay Packers pass behind me and go to their dressing room. They have beaten the Kansas City Chiefs 35-10 in their machine-like, methodical-like way in the first ever Super Bowl. But I think if you watched that you were surprised, possibly you thought, possibly you knew that Kansas City was as strong as they are. We'll be getting reaction from Coach Vince Lombardi and some of these Packer players from the Green Bay dressing room. Charlie Jones will be in the Kansas City dressing room, finding out from Coach Hank Stram how he thought his team today. I'm sure he's very proud. There's a crowd here. I'm sure you can see all the press, the members of the press behind me. That also is indicative of the tremendous coverage that's been given to the Super Bowl game, the first ever 1967, won by the NFL champion Green Bay Packers. The excitement and the drama of the players in their dressing room is right here, and you won't want to miss it.
The champions, the Green Bay Packers. We will join them during their celebration and relive their moments of glory in what has been the first AFL-NFL championship game. We'll talk to the champions and their coach, Vince Lombardi, for an analysis of today's game in which they became the world champions of professional football.
Well, again, Vince Lombardi, the coach of the Green Bay Packers, will be visiting a little bit later on. Hopefully, you can see the size of this tremendous crowd outside the Packer dressing room, which is over to my left, the Kansas City dressing room behind us. And we'll be visiting with Charlie Jones in the losers dressing room, in the Kansas City dressing room, finding out from these two coaches, really, what they think about their respective teams, what Vince Lombardi thinks about Green Bay, if he was surprised by how tough that Kansas City line was to run against. Why did he go to the air so much? We'll ask Kansas City coach Hank Stram what he thinks and how he thinks his Kansas City team did, how he compares the strength of the two leagues. Should be interesting. We'll be going into both locker rooms. Commissioner Pete Rozelle of both leagues, by golly. Pete, you must have been pretty satisfied with this afternoon's game.
Oh, I was very much. I just thought it was a tremendous show, Pat. I had your monitor and could hear your comments during the game, and I thought the color was great, and Green Bay was what we've known them to be, a very solid, fine football team, and I thought that Kansas City, particularly their defensive line, did an outstanding job.
The great observer of football that you are, of course, in addition to your other many duties, do you think this is indicative, the 35-10 score, is that indicative of the difference, or is one game enough for us to go by?
I think it probably takes more than one game. I think we'll get an additional reading this summer when we have some fine interleague preseason games, and we'll have pairings then, of course, of other than the top two teams. And I think that, while not again conclusive because it'll be preseason games, that could help us get a better line.
Pete, let's capsule something that you just brought up there. Now, is that the immediate plan for the two leagues to meet in preseason games next year?
Yes, each AFL club will play at least one game with an NFL opponent. Some will have more. So we should have perhaps as many as 12 or 15 interleague games next summer.
What are the differences now remain for you to work out? For example, we had one or two rule differences this afternoon's game. Have those things been resolved, or are they still to be resolved?
Well, one of the main ones left open is still that two-point conversion. It was not used today, but it will be used in all of the interleague preseason games next summer to give the NFL clubs a chance to see how it works. And as to the future of the two-point conversion, we'll take it up after this summer, perhaps.
What about the financial payoff now? $15,000 to the winner, $8,500 or thereabouts to the loser, or $75,000, I believe is correct.
Right.
Is that predetermined, or what affected the size of the crowd here this
Yes,
afternoon?
those were set figures, and then after taking those and game expenses out, that's about $1,170,000 for the competing players. Then we'll take game expenses out, and then after that, 40% of the remainder would go to their player pension funds, and then 15% to each league office and 15% to each of the competing clubs. So that it's, from a financial standpoint, it was quite successful.
Win or lose, it's a pretty good afternoon.
Yes, it was.
For both teams and for you as commissioner of the two leagues. What is your title now?
Well, I'm commissioner of the two leagues, and hopefully NFL will pick an NFL president soon so I can take off that other hat.
Pete, thank you very much.
Thank you, Pat.
Congratulations to you on a wonderful show this afternoon. We'll have more from both dressing rooms in just a moment.
I can't play football. I want to be in on somewhere else. Vince, how do you compare now the NFL with the AFL?
I have nothing to say about it.
Can you hold the ball up, please?
Yes.
This way, Bob. Better effort than that. We can't hear you back here, man.
How many game balls have you got since you've been in
I would say about a dozen.
Vince, did the Kansas City team surprise you in any way? Did it show anything you didn't expect, or what?
I don't believe so. I think they played just well. The question was, did they show anything different? And the answer is no.
Did his half sprint outs in the first half bother your defense?
I don't believe so. We just had that question about the moving pocket, and I don't believe so. I think we were not as aggressive in the first half as we might have been.
I think the interception was the key point in the ball game.
That was a big play by Willie Wood, you mean, of course? Yes, it took us right down there, and of course we went in to score. Now, whether it was the key, I don't know what key plays are, really. I don't think I have to tell you this is Vince Lombardi. This is a Packer locker room. That's one of our offensive linemen. I think that's enough. I don't think we have to say who it is.
Vince, what'd you tell your boys at half? Any changes made there?
No, we just told them to be a little bit more aggressive and stop grabbing. We were going in there and grabbing rather than tackling, you know. We did that against Dallas, too, in the first half.
Coach, were you aiming at Mitchell and the defense?
At Mitchell? Well, that was one of our plans, yes, but I guess we did complete quite a few passes over there on him.
Your running was rather poor in the first half.
Running was, you can't, no way you can run against those defenses, but you can't rush the passer either.
The stacked defense.
That's right. Oh, let me put it this way. I shouldn't say there's no way. You can run against them, but it's difficult.
Coach, did you think...
It's much easier to throw against them.
There was a sacrifice on the pass.
That's right.
Coach, did you think it was sort of ironic that McGee had such a great day after Dollard started and hurt his shoulder? Don't you think Max did a terrific job?
Well, we had planned to hit our weak side end most of the game.
Regardless of who it was?
Regardless of who it was, that's correct.
Did you...
And when Carroll Dare wasn't there playing weak side, you notice we hit him too.
Right. Coach, did you increase the amount of the blitz right after the start of the second
half? Yes.
I thought on the Willie Wood intercepting, there was a blitz on at that time. I don't
remember if that was so or not.
Coach, it's been a long year for you and for Green Bay. What's your plan right now?
Well, right now I have to stay out here tomorrow.
You're going to stay tomorrow?
I have a meeting tomorrow.
What sort of meeting's coming up?
National League meeting.
I see.
Coach, was Kansas City's defense and secondary and awfully tight?
No, the secondary was rather loose, in fact. They played rather loose.
Looked like they were daring to make the long bomb there in the first
They were
half.
daring us to throw the ball, if that's what you mean.
Did it surprise you when Taylor didn't get up and take a whack at Buchanan?
That's a pretty big man, isn't it? Yes, sir.
Vince, how does this team compare with the Western Division teams that you played?
I think Dallas was a better football team. Oh, the Western Division team? All of them? That's a good football team, and it doesn't compare with the National Football League teams. That's what you want me to say? I said it.
Are you including all the teams?
It took me a long time to get that out. No, I mean I think the Kansas City team is a real top football team, and but it doesn't rate with the top teams in our division. That's what I'm saying.
Could you compare Kansas City with any team?
No, I will not. No, I cannot. No.
Why doesn't it rate with any team in the National Football League?
That's overall. That's hard to say now. It's overall I'm talking about.
Best game of the year, Coach?
I wouldn't say so, no.
You said within that would be 1 point. You didn't say top teams the first time. Second time.
I said top teams.
Top team.
Coach, looking back over the year, what would you say was your best game?
Boy, I think any one we win is a top game.
What about their style of defense? Was it different from what you faced
Yes, the
before?
stacked defense. Detroit played a number of years ago against the same defenses, exactly. George Wilson played it when he was at Detroit.
Would you describe them briefly for us, Coach?
It's stacked defense. They stack one side, linebacker behind a lineman, and they do a little dealing from that particular position. They're also in a very difficult position to get out for runs, but they're in also a poor position to defend on the pass.
Does this dictate why you went so much
That's
to
right.
the air?
That's right.
One of Green Bay's better games.
What's that?
One of Green Bay's more solid.
I don't think so. I think Starr was terrific. I think our passing game was excellent. I don't know what the passing statistics were, but they had to be tremendous.
Starr, I believe, was 15 out of 21 or something like that.
That's very good.
What does Bart Starr mean to the success of the Packers?
I think Bart Starr is a very integral part. He always has been. I mean, when we were doing other things, he got very little recognition, but it was the same stuff. As you can see, there is a lot of excitement here, and we'll have more of that for you in just a moment.
But it's not quite as lonely as it was, but as I mentioned, the quietness still prevails as the Kansas City Chiefs were defeated by the Green Bay Packers. On my left is E.J. Hollop, on my right is Mike Garrett. E.J., your first reaction, I know the question that everybody has asked you, how tough offensively are the Green Bay Packers?
They're a real good ball club. They position block real well, Charlie, and giving their backs room to run, whereas the linemen would make you take a side and the backs would run. And, of course, the big thing was the third down play. We let them get off the hook too many times on third down play.
You made a comment to me when you walked in the locker room that you had a sandwich on the field. Would you explain that?
Well, I feel like I hit a few of them, the same as they hit me.
In addition to the fact of the being down, of course, and losing the ball game, what is your reaction after participating in the first Super Bowl?
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm not going to hang my head. I think we hit them, even though the score didn't indicate the game. I think we hit them pretty good. We didn't, the big difference, like I said, we didn't give the offense the ball enough. Myself, I didn't play as good a game as I should have, and we should have given the offense the ball more often rather than let them control the ball. This is our type of ball game, and we let them play their type of ball game, really, by just controlling the ball. And we just didn't play well enough defensive-wise, you might say, Charlie. Speaking of myself.
All right, we have some highlights. We'll take a look at that, and then we'll be talking with Mike Garrett, and perhaps both of you can comment as we'll be watching the monitors.
Dawson.
And this is Lynn Dawson.
That was a fake ball, Charlie, and it's supposed to hit the halfback out in the pad, in the flat, and Lane just decided to keep the ball and run. Mike made a good fake on that. This is Brown situation, same thing. It's a draw right here. Mike does a real good job picking his holes and running to the strong side.
Mike, how tough were they to run against?
Well, since we didn't run too much against them when we got behind, we had to pass, but I didn't find them exceptionally tough to run against, and they block real well and they tackle real well, and we'll be back next year ready to play them again, I guarantee that.
Well, did you notice anything against the defenses that they used and different to the other ones that you have faced?
No, not really. They play just like everyone else plays, and like I said, we'll be back and play them again.
This is a Browns situation. It's a handoff to Bert Cohn. No, excuse me, that was a fake. Faked me out there and threw it to Curtis. He went out in the flat. It was the same thing. It was like a 32-man with a fake and threw out to Curtis. Here, Bart has plenty of time right here, and Willie made a fine interception right there. He played the ball real well. He was having a little trouble the first half of getting footing. The turf was a little bit loose, and he put some longer cleats on at the half, and you got a little better footing. This is the 200 pattern right here, and it's throwing to Chris. Chris made a fine catch there.
Chris had an exceptionally good ball game.
Yes, he did. Chris is a clutch ball player. I think he does great anytime in practice, wherever it might be. He'll catch the ball. He'll even run through a wall to get it.
Well, everybody, Mike has been talking all week long, actually about the last 10 days, over the pressure of this particular ball game. Once you got on the Coliseum, did you feel that pressure?
Not so much. I think both teams felt the pressure, and of course I have nerves. Anytime I play in the Coliseum, it seems, and I played here in college, I have a terrible nervous problem, and I had the typical, and it just took me time to get used to it. And I don't think the entire team had the same problem I did. I thought we'll be back, like I said.
Okay, one final quick question to Johnny Robinson. How tough were they to cover, Johnny?
Well, we had a lot of trouble with him. They gave Bart a lot of time to throw the ball, and he put it right in there. He's a great quarterback, and they're a great football team. We'll be back, though.
Okay, John, now let's join Pat Summerall.
Trophy presentations being made here in the Packer dressing room now, from Pete Rozelle, the commissioner, to Vince Lombardi.
Vinny, this is the first Super Bowl trophy, and it's something Green Bay can keep. We're going to have a new trophy each year, so you and your squad certainly deserved it. It was a fine game.
Thank you, Pete. We're very, very happy to be able to present the National Football League and very happy to win the trophy. Thank you. The first Super Bowl trophy as it was presented to Vince Lombardi by Commissioner Pete Rozelle. Here's a guy who had just a fantastic afternoon. This Max McGee, if we can get him up here. Max caught 7 passes this afternoon and 1 fantastic catch, as I'm sure you remember. Standing back behind, kind of buried, but...
Fellas, he'll do a greater job for you up there than I'll ever do.
Max McGee, as we said a minute ago, caught 7 passes this afternoon. The first one was just fantastic, that touchdown catch, Max, behind you. Did you know you had it when you started to go in?
No, I really didn't, as a matter of fact, but I'm kind of glad it stuck. It got us off to a good start.
Max, I remember in the last game against against Baltimore, I'm sorry, when you locked up the NFL title, you ran a similar pattern. And you said it was a broken pattern, though. You said it wasn't something that was called in the huddle. Was this one called in the huddle?
Yes, it was. Mr. Starr automatic to this play, and it was a great automatic. And, of course, it worked. We thought it'd work on this team. We really did.
George Reiterman, what'd you think?
I wanted to ask Max a question here, and Bart Starr. You seem to be coming down to the inside on Willie Mitchell all day. Did you come back and say you get open there? Is this a game plan before the game or what?
Well, right, Joe. It's always a game plan on those blitzes to try to get to the inside because they got no help, and that's the way it worked out today. We thought we could get to the inside on him, and all we had to do is block those big guys so we could throw it, and that got to be a problem for a while.
Bart, could you follow your game plan pretty well today?
Yes, we did, George. We didn't make any change at all at halftime. We just didn't do a very good job of execution in the first half, and they got to us a few times, but we toughened up a little bit in the second half, kept the ball a little longer, and stayed right with our original game plan.
Jim Taylor, were you surprised at how tough they were? Or did you think this is a better football team than you thought it was in the beginning?
No, I think we anticipated them being pretty tough, and they did play real fine the first half, and then we caught up to them the second half and finally manhandled them a little bit.
Jim, what about the little fracas you had with Buck Buchanan? Were you surprised at how strong you were?
To maintain my balance there, I knew the play was over, and I'd heard the whistle, and he just threw me back with an arm, and I was just trying to hold my balance and not hit the ground.
Bart, did you think that your receivers got open any different times? Did you think the Kansas City backs were playing a little bit closer than they do in the NFL? Was there any difference in the secondary?
Well, that's hard to say. As Max told George a while ago, sometimes on a blitz situation, it's not fair to compare backs because when they have no help, a back covers you a little different than he would if he's got help underneath. And this is when Max beat some of these fellas several times, and I'm sure he'd say the same thing.
Were you surprised at the strength of this team?
Yes, I was. I thought they did an excellent job on us, particularly in that first half.
We asked Vince Lombardi earlier if he would compare this team to, say, Dallas. Do they compare with Dallas?
I wouldn't want to compare teams.
That seems to be a pretty standard answer, I think, George. You got anything else?
Yeah, Bart, on your short passes, particularly in the first half, we noticed you're throwing a lot of them in there low. Do you do that purposely to avoid interceptions on your hook patterns?
Well, you try to, George. Yes, in fact, the first pass I threw to McGee today, I turned around and looked, and Robinson was right on top of him, and I threw it well down low so that he didn't get it. No one would, yes.
You do that purposely, though, do you?
Try to, yes. A high one is awfully easy to get. Anybody can get those.
Bart Starr, Jim Taylor, Max McGee, congratulations and much continued success to you in Green Bay and in football. Good luck to you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Bart. Thanks, man, very much. We'll have more from you from here in just a moment.
Up in our CBS broadcast booth again with Paul Christman. And Paul, looking back over it, it seems like maybe this was truly the longest day. It seems that way, doesn't it?
It's got to be a long day for Kansas City Chiefs. There's no doubt about it, Frank. I said all along, and particularly in the last half, it had to be Mr. Starr all the way, and it proved right. I think probably, as I mentioned on our wrap-up, the key to the ball game was the fact that Kansas City did a reasonable job of containing Green Bay, but when Green Bay needed a first down, he threw that curl in there and that little sharp in business, and it's just almost impossible to stop if it's timed right, and I think Mr. Starr can do this with the blindfold on, I'm convinced, because the timing was absolutely perfect, just great.
Certainly, they seem to work almost like clockwork. And let's take a look at some of the action that took place here today in the first Super Bowl game, and again, to just go again with what has been said, Bart Starr performing brilliantly for the Green Bay Packers. And here you see Starr, who completed 62% of his passes over the season, scrambling out of there, getting the ball off to Elijah Pitts.
That's a fine scramble job right there, too, because he was really under pressure and got the ball away for a good gain.
And again, Starr going back this time. It's over the middle. Max McGee making that grab from behind his back, one-handed. You just heard him say a moment ago he was happy it stuck there.
That had to be probably one of the outstanding catches of the year, too. Here's Starr again throwing. Who is that, Willie Fleming?
That's Marv Fleming.
Marv Fleming, I'm sorry.
A big one.
Oh, is he ever?
They're good targets, aren't they?
This is the guard combination we've talked about so much. Kramer and Thurston, they pull out, and this is Katie bar the door. That's Jimmy Taylor going over there.
Now Lenny Dawson staying in there.
Dawson, yes. Go ahead. He's under duress, and you know what happened.
Certainly do, Paul, and you saw Willie Wood pick that off. And I think if there was a turning point in this football game, it had to be that. That came on the first series of downs for Kansas City in the second half, and as you're going to see, in the first play, they pounded over.
Well, we talk about making a mistake, and it cost 7 points in professional football. 2 plays later, they had a score. You're right.
Max McGee again.
Yeah, isn't that a circus catch? Mr. McGee had himself quite a day.
He's had many of them for Green Bay, and it always seems to be the clutch performance. Starr again throwing, this time over the middle. And again, it's Max McGee.
And he hits Bulldog.
And again, down on the goal line where McGee helped him come in.
Jimmy Taylor, which he does so well, bouncing. The hole was plugged, as you saw, and still he skips outside. He's a good slider on that type of thing, and he picks up that at 1 or 2 yards when you need it. This is most important for a fullback, as you well know.
Paul, I honestly must say that I think that it was one of the fine defensive performances I've seen by that front four of Kansas City.
It was. We said all along that they do not do a lot of blitzing because the front four is so good in its own way, but that's the way it happened. They did it just as you said. They were tough.
Paul, I've enjoyed working with you. And now let's go back down to Pat Summerall. He's in the Green Bay dressing room.
Well, it's still hot and hectic here, as I'm sure you can tell. And we talked about big plays. You heard Frank Gifford mention that big play that Willie Wood made. This is Willie Wood, and Willie, congratulations to you on this afternoon.
Oh, thank you very much, Pat.
It must be doubly rewarding to come back to the Coliseum and have a good afternoon like you did.
Yes, in fact, I'm happy all the way around. There's nothing that I can say. I'm just really overjoyed about the whole thing, and that we considered, the team considered my play the big play, and of course it's the type of thing that we often ask our guys for, to try to get us started, especially when we were as flat as we were in the first half. And it was just a matter of us adjusting. I think the first half, Kansas City sort of caught us flat-footed in a sense, and we got ourselves together, and I'm happy with the way the game turned out.
I bet you are. The Packers have been famous for that big play for a long time. George, you got something?
Yeah, Willie, you made the key play of the game, that interception. Did you guess at all on that play, or do you ever guess when you're on defense?
Well, no, we never guess. What we anticipate a lot of things in situations, what the team normally do. Every team has a habit. They have things that they do best in key situations, and we noticed in film in our scouting report that they usually go to our balance on a big play, 3rd down 5 situation like that, or they turn into Buford, and this is what we were looking for.
George, there's a gentleman right behind us here. In fact, there are 2 men right here. One Elijah Pitts and one Paul Horning. And Elijah, as you know, played the entire game this afternoon. And congratulations, first of all, to you.
Thank you.
On just a great afternoon and a great season, too.
All right, thank you. We are kind of proud of it now that it's all over.
I'll bet you are. Paul, if there's ever been a symbol of professional football and a symbol of the greatness that is Green Bay, it's Paul Horning. Congratulations. You must be very proud, even though you didn't play this afternoon.
Yes, I am, Pat. Naturally, just like Coach said, everybody felt the responsibility as being part of the NFL and carrying it into this game as the first Super Bowl champion. And naturally, I would have liked to play with this fellow here. He's just done a tremendous job all year, and it's great to be associated with this team. I think that the Packers proved that they at least deserve to start off as the #1 team.
Paul, this fellow right here credits you, I think, a lot with the success that he has had and the tremendous amount of help that you've given him.
Well, it's all true. Whenever I come off the field, Paul's always over there watching to see what I can do. With his experience, of course, it helps me a lot in everything I do out there.
And that's what makes the Packers. Paul, one thing now, there's been a lot of rumors, a lot of things have been said about the fact that you might not play anymore. You got anything to say at this time?
Well, Pat, the only thing I can say at this time, I'm going to wait 3 or 4 months and see if my arm comes back and get thoroughly checked in February. And I'd like to play another year, maybe 2 years if I can. I feel pretty good and otherwise except my arm, and just going to take a few months' work with the weights, and if I'm lucky, I might be playing next year.
And you are going to give it a try, though, if physically you are able.
Right.
Well, men, congratulations to you. A tribute to you, to the NFL, and to the Green Bay Packers, and thank you very much, Willie, Paul, and Elijah Pitts.
Thank you.
Much good luck and continued success. That's just about it from here. Now, let's go back upstairs. We'll continue in just a moment.
The final statistics are in, and they just about tell the story of that second half as Green Bay picked up 200 yards net rushing and passing after Kansas City led in total offense at halftime. And the Kansas City Chiefs in the second half were held to about 50 or 60 yards, Paul, on total offense in the second half.
Well, Kurt, as I mentioned, they had to play catch-up football, and of course, when an experienced team like Green Bay knows this, they adjust their defense accordingly, and it's just a little difficult to move against them.
The passing was very good today. Of course, Starr had the 16 out of 23 day. Dawson looked good. He had 16 out of 27. Young Beathard came in and had 1 out of 5. But there's the final score. Green Bay 35, Kansas City 10, and Green Bay wins the first official AFL-NFL World Championship. And we can say on the Kansas City side, they should be proud. They won their league championship, and it's certainly no disgrace to get beat by the Green Bay Packers.
That's what Hollop said. I'm not hanging my head. I agree with him.
So this has been our special post-game show, The Champions. And Kurt Gowdy and Paul Christman saying so long until we see you next Saturday on the AFL All-Star Game.